Today I'm checking out a brand new mouse from a brand new company. The mouse is called the Meta and it's from a company called Gamesense. They're a brand new US based company in the gaming market. This mouse was sent to me from Gamesense and it is a pre-production unit, so there is a bunch of stuff on here that's going to change. There's currently no software that will be added. The mouse feet are currently not rounded. That will be fixed. They're updating the molds to help with side flex that has been reported. I didn't get any, but I'm glad that they're taking measures to help make the mouse even better. So the shape here is S2 inspired. It's symmetrical, no buttons on the right side, 2 buttons on the left side. But if you've used a Zowie S2, this shape should seem pretty familiar. The front and back flare out a little bit. The buttons have comfort curves. A little bit narrower than an S2 and a little bit more round than an S2. As far as the size goes, I do believe that it's a little bit smaller than a Zowie S2. I don't actually have one, but when I was using one, it always felt a little bit big and kind of like blocky in around the top corners. And this in hand felt a lot better just because of the rounding here. But I also do think it's a little bit narrower. So here it is compared to a Viper Mini. And here's an XM1. It does seem a little bit like an S2 XM1 mini hybrid. This mouse has no holes and weighs in at 64 grams on my scale, 65. They also said the coating was not finalized and that they'd be updating it to be more like a Logitech Superlight. Although this is a pre-production unit, the build quality on my copy seems really nice. Here's a little shake test. And the noise is coming from the wheel, so I'm going to give it another shake test with my finger on the wheel. And here's a squeeze test. Might be a little bit of flexing on the bottom, but I'm pretty sure that's to be expected. It's basically the only part of the mouse that you will never touch. No real cracks and creaks ever in use. Some very light creaking when squeezing, but no problem at all in actual use. The coating they said was going to be updated. It does show a little bit of fingerprinting. I do think it's a nice coating. I don't have any complaints about it. Feels pretty good. No real complaints from me even on the old coating, so if they're going to improve it, even better. The sensor is a 3360. The 3360 is basically perfect. I've had no issues with spinouts, skipping. Sensors at this point are basically not even worth talking about. So the clicks, this is a pretty awesome feature of this mouse. All of the buttons, except for the DPI button, have a Kailh red switch, which feels amazing. If you enjoy tactility and like a more defined click, you're gonna love basically every click on this mouse. So they have a little bit of pre-travel, a little bit of post-travel, which is to be expected with a one-piece shell. Same for the right click. Side clicks basically have no pre-travel and a little bit of post-travel. The wheel has a TTC yellow scroll encoder, which is very tactile and has very defined bumps, but a trade-off to having a really tactile scroll encoder is that it is a bit noisy. I love how it feels and the noise doesn't bother me. I'd rather it feel good and be a little bit noisy than be completely silent and feel like crap. I use the middle click a lot in game, mostly for pinging, and this middle click is the best middle click I've ever felt on a mouse. Probably has something to do with that Kailh GM 4.0 switch. And here's a sound test of all the buttons. they're going to be adding a sensor ring and the feet are going to be more rounded in the final versions. But I had no complaints about this, it felt good on the Odin Infinity and the Cordura and Game Gear pad. The button on the bottom cycles through RGB, which I'm hoping in software will be adjustable because some of the modes are like kind of funny. Like I don't really know anybody who would want most of them. So I'm hoping that they can be adjusted, but also there was a few that I liked, so I guess that's all that really matters, as long as there's enough options for everybody to get something that they like. So I'll cycle through them now. I think this one's motion activated. I think if you use this one, there's something wrong. Maybe if you just love RGB, red, green, and blue, show that baby off. If you don't like any of it, you can just turn it off, which is good. Alright, if you use this one, you need to get help. I think this is the one that I was using, just cycles through the colors, looks pretty good. And this is the same kind of thing, but just waves through them. And that's all the modes. The cable is a cloth cable, the wires in it do feel a little bit stiff. Here's a comparison to an aftermarket paracord on a dirty QCK Plus. Not sure if you can tell on camera, but the cable is a little bit stiff. I had it in a bungee, didn't really have a problem with it, but if you want that wireless feel, you're definitely going to want to get an aftermarket paracord. This mouse is a really solid first mouse for Gamesense. I think the story goes that they took over the project from a company that bailed out on it and tweaked it to their liking. This is an extremely solid first mouse for Gamesense. I think this feels just like a smaller, more refined Zowie S2, which is an enormous compliment for your first mouse. There's no gigantic problems. I played really well with it in game and it was really comfortable and felt great in all of my use. I really like the addition of the aftermarket switches. Even though I do a lot of switch swaps, I'm really happy to see companies using better, higher quality switches throughout the entire mouse, and even paying attention to which scroll encoder they're using for better feel, and actually advertising the switches in the scroll encoder, which I don't think I've really ever seen before. I would say that the cable and the wheel offer opportunities for improvement. The wheel does have a little bit of side-to-side movement, which has never affected me in game, but just seems like one of those things that over time could be fixed so that it feels a little more solid in the body of the mouse. It would help with the shake test, and it also wouldn't move as much left to right, which has never been a problem for me, but could be a problem for somebody out there. This mouse is up for pre-order for $50 and it retails for $60, which is a very reasonable price for such a solid mouse. I know that there's a lot of mice out there that are pretty questionable for quite a bit more. It's hard to argue with such a solid mouse for a reasonable price. If you're a fan of the S2 or wanted something a little small, a little bit more refined, I think that this would be a great option and definitely worth checking out. I have one of their mouse pads coming and they're releasing another mouse that's going to be completely their design. They also teased a sample of a mouse that has hot swap switches, which is amazing. Thank you to Gamesense for sending this to me to check out. It was really fun to play with and I'm excited for the future of their company. This is a really promising first mouse to be released and I'm really excited to check out their stuff in the future. And thanks so much for watching the video all the way to the end. If you like this kind of thing, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much. Peace. One thing I missed earlier in the video is that there's no 400 DPI step stock on the mouse. If you use that, you're going to have to wait until the software is released and then just make one of those yourself. Also, the mouse is currently up for pre-order for $50 and is expected to be released late April. That's it. Thanks. Peace.